Prices today don't cost in many of the environmental goods and bads associated with them. So, for example, carbon-intensive activity needs to price in the damage of those carbon emissions. In that way, a change in prices can give a positive boost to drive innovation and investment in low-carbon alternatives.
If we take our natural world and all we do is deplete the resources, both renewable and non-renewable resources, in reality, we're undermining the very stock upon which human well-being is based upon. And so we've got to rethink how we measure wealth, basically. How can we quantify wealth? How can we recognize, how do we recognize that nature and the services it provides humans have true value? And what we're realizing is that when you don't put value or a price on ecosystem services, you tend to effectively just lose them. When you don't put a price on scarce resources like water, it's overused. And so the challenge we've got in front of us is how to appropriately value nature, recognizing you have to have social safety nets for the poorest of the poor.
I think most people agree that the present index to measure progress, which is GDP, a purely economic indicator, is incapable of capturing the other aspects of development, which are health, education, social well-being, and so on. And I'm pretty sure that people will raise this issue, but a big effort will have to be made to introduce it in the final resolution, because it's not in the document that is put forward presently by the United Nations.
Up to now, it's a single-track economic development only, concentrating on economic development, prioritizing GDP, and all these kinds of things. It ignores social development, poverty eradication, social equity. It ignores also environment. It is not sustainable.
The fact that GDP was a lousy measure has been known since the 1950s. It's been written about for years and years. We're all in favor of gross national happiness, but the world is still being run by, to a large extent, economists who understand nothing about how the world works. And the fact that they're talking about these things, if you listen to, for example, climatologists like Jim Hansen, and I believe that those people are correct, we have a few years, maybe, to change our behavior dramatically. And there's not the slightest sign in the leaked reports from Rio and so on that anything important or dramatic is going to happen there. And until we get that kind of shift, people like me are not going to have any hope.